Hello, a very warm welcome back to France 24. I'm Sanam Chantier. These are the main headlines at this hour. Cracks are beginning to show in Italy's newly formed coalition government. The head of the Five-Star Party isn't budging in his demands with longtime bitter foe, the centre-left Democratic Party. Two pro-democracy leaders are arrested and later released on bail as the opposition movement continues in Hong Kong. Protesters say they will still turn up to a rally that has been banned by police for Saturday. Plus, Russia, one of the main players in the Syrian conflict, announces a ceasefire in the northwestern city of Idlib. This as internally displaced Syrians try to storm the border post with Turkey. Thank you for joining us at 9:30 Paris time on Live from Paris. We start with Italy, where a new coalition government may already be under threat. The country's Five-Star Movement and the Democratic Party, who were once bitter rivals, have not been able to agree on a string of policies. Trying to bridge those gaps between the two sides, Italy's Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte. Now, the previous coalition, made up of Five-Star and the Lega Party, collapsed earlier in August when the far-right's Matteo Salvini withdrew from the alliance in the hope of triggering an early election. Let's take a listen to Luigi Di Maio, the leader of Italy's Five-Star Movement, speaking earlier.
Today, the President of the Council of Ministers might give birth to another cabinet, to a second Conte administration. I'm using the conditional here because as leader of the Five-Star Movement, I've been very clear. Either we agree on doing what is on our political agenda, or we will not go forward.
Now, earlier I spoke to our Rome correspondent, that's Seema Gupta, who broke down this rather unraveling crisis over in Italy.
We always knew this was going to be a hard one, to have this anti-establishment party working together with the establishment that they were pitted against in the election last year. And they came out as the biggest winner of the election. And so I guess that's the reason why they're sort of upping their demands in terms of this coalition working. Now, Luigi Di Maio, the leader of the Five-Star Movement, met with Giuseppe Conte today, and he came up, he said, with 20 policy demands that he says have to go through, otherwise they'll have to go to elections. And this is after they said they were going to be working with the Democratic Party. Now, we saw a swift response from representatives of the Democratic Party, Nicola Zingaretti, tweeting after saying enough with unacceptable ultimatums, or this will simply go nowhere. So tensions really are rising here. It's not a done deal in any which way or form, and the markets have reacted negatively. We even saw the bond yields that earlier on Thursday seemed to have narrowed, widened once again on Friday.
Seema, you're saying it's not a done deal. We're hearing a lot of reports that, in fact, cracks are very much beginning to show. Tell us, what happens if this coalition doesn't actually end up working out?
Well, Sergio Mattarella, the president, and Giuseppe Conte are hoping that they will come up with this working coalition, that they'll go to votes of confidence in both houses of parliament and it'll get passed. But if that doesn't happen, of course, the individual that has most to gain is Salvini, and that's the leader of the far-right League Party, simply because as opinion polls stand right now, he really has the largest share. We did see some drop in his popularity as a result of pulling his support for the government and hoping for elections. But if it does go to polls, he still has the biggest share. And so at the moment, we'll have to see whether this coalition does end up coming up with some kind of a working plan. Giuseppe Conte still has a few days of consultations, but if they go to an election, we could expect polls in November. The other thing that is adding pressure to this entire situation is the fact that a budget needs to be passed fairly soon. And that is, if it doesn't get passed, there will be an automatic increase in sales tax. And so that's something that they're hoping to avoid. And the president certainly wants a budget to be passed. So it's not a done deal yet. We still have a few days. It'll be interesting to see what happens in the course of the consultations to form perhaps this coalition that at the moment is looking very dicey.
Seema Gupta there reporting. Next to several pro-democracy leaders who've been swept up in Hong Kong this week, this in a series of detentions ahead of what will be the 13th consecutive weekend of mass protests in the Asian financial hub. Now, among those arrested and later released on bail, Joshua Wong and Agnes Chow, who've been charged with offences including taking part in unlawful gatherings. In addition to this, 3 local lawmakers have been detained. Now, earlier, our reporter Jacques Bellican sent us this update.
Hong Kong authorities took a shot at some of the city's most prominent pro-democracy activists this Thursday and Friday. Well, chief among those arrested is Joshua Wong, one of the leaders of the 2014 Umbrella Movement and the Secretary General of pro-democracy political party Demo Sisto. Joshua Wong has been released on bail this Friday and will have a curfew. He'll be back in court in November to face charges of participating in and inciting an illegal assembly on June 21st. Now, will this arrest have an effect on the pro-democracy movement? And it's important to know that actually the anti-extradition movement of these past few months has been a leaderless and anonymous organization. Joshua Wong himself has denied any role in the protests of the past few months except that of being a supporter. Well, this means that the mobilization and demonstrations will continue this weekend with or without police approval, with a general strike called on for Monday and Tuesday, September 2nd and 3rd. The government will continue most likely not to give in to protester demands, and police will continue to make arrests. They've made close to 900 since the beginning of the movement.
Also this Friday, parts of Pakistan came to a standstill as protesters gathered to show their solidarity with Kashmir. And it was the country's Prime Minister Imran Khan who called for those demonstrations. Now, tensions have been rising since India revoked the autonomy of the disputed state, reclassifying it as a union territory. Here's Claire Rush with that report.
Traffic grinds to a halt in Islamabad as thousands march and chant. On Friday, Pakistanis responded to the call of Prime Minister Imran Khan, who had urged people across the country to stop whatever they were doing for half an hour to show support for Kashmiris. In a speech, Khan slammed his Indian counterpart Narendra Modi over his decision to revoke the autonomy of Indian-administered Kashmir.
Today, if the world doesn't stand against Narendra Modi's fascist and racist government in support of the Kashmiri people, its effects will be felt all over the world.
Friday's rallies came the same day Khan published an editorial in the New York Times as part of his campaign to bring attention to Indian-administered Kashmir. The disputed region has been on lockdown for nearly a month. Most telephone lines and television networks are blocked, along with the internet, and thousands of Indian troops have been deployed there. Thousands of people have reportedly been detained, and residents have accused security forces of carrying out beatings and torture, according to media reports. Kashmir is divided between India and Pakistan, which both rule parts of the Himalayan territory. The two countries have contested the region since independence from the British in 1947.
To another crackdown in India, this time on the state of Assam in the northeast of the country, and its illegal migrants who are being targeted. The move could mean that millions of Muslims and long-term refugees from Bangladesh will be stripped of their right to live there. Let's take a listen to our correspondent, that's Avantika Seth, reporting from New Delhi.
The latest is that the declaration of the final list is going to be published at 10 in the morning tomorrow. This announcement of the final NRC list is likely to be one of the biggest development in Prime Minister Narendra Modi's second term as far as national security goes, right up there along with the revocation of autonomy in Kashmir that we just saw. there is definitely a lot of panic among people as we see as of now. Currently, the fate of millions of people remains totally uncertain. Whether they will qualify as citizens of India or will they be called as foreigners? What is their future? Are they supposed to be in the same country? Are they supposed to be deported? Are they supposed to be in detention camps? We don't really know because things are not that clear as to what will happen with these people. We right now know that the security measures have been really stepped up across the state, and curfew has been sort of imposed in several parts of the state to maintain peace and public order, as the list is going to come out in the morning at 10 tomorrow. The Assam police, in fact, tweeted that the government has ensured adequate safeguards for people whose names may not appear on the NRC. This has also increased a sort of panic among people. This story has been developing for over a year now, and we have witnessed at every moment growing panic, insecurity among people. We've also seen a significant rise in number of detention camps for these people, and with the list coming out tomorrow, I think this night is going to be a bit difficult for them to pass to know what is going to happen tomorrow. And also, since this is a quickly developing story, I think we'll have a lot in the weeks and the months to see from now.
Now, Russia has been announcing that a ceasefire in northwestern Syria from Saturday morning will take effect. This is where Kremlin-backed government troops have been waging an offensive to take back the rebels' last major stronghold. Meanwhile, hundreds of Syrians, as you can see in these images captured earlier, were protesting this Friday at the border with Turkey, with some even trying to cross into the country. The situation for internally displaced persons in the war-torn nation has become increasingly unstable, with hundreds of thousands fleeing bombing campaigns led by, of course, the government and Russian forces. Here's a report from our team on the ground.
The sprawling Atma camp is situated less than 2 kilometers from the border. A makeshift city, one of the biggest refugee camps in northern Syria. When Syrian and Russian forces entered Idlib province late April, this is where Abu Hassan's family fled. They left everything behind.
The bombs were raining down. We left the house just with the clothes on our backs. We had to abandon everything. We came here. They told us we would get help, but no. I even had to borrow money to buy this tent.
This family is far from alone. Hundreds of thousands of civilians have left for the last bastion of the Syrian resistance. Many of them chose to come here, near the Turkish border, where they hope to find safety. But supplies are few and far between.
During the last attack by regime forces, a large number of displaced people arrived, but no one gave us more tents or food aid for them.
The inhabitants of this seemingly endless camp are hoping for the bare minimum, a roof over their heads and something to eat. Many don't even have that.
Now, the U.S. uncertainty continues to reign as to when Hurricane Dorian will make landfall. That's the 9th to do so, dating back to 1851. Now, forecasters are estimating that the storm will hit the eastern coast of Florida late on Monday or in the early hours of Tuesday next week. And much of the impact remains uncertain also. In the meantime, as you can see here, preparations are underway, with local residents placing sandbags outside their houses and stocking up with necessities. Well, that's it from me and the team this Friday. Do stay tuned for Eye on Africa, coming up with Julia Kim.